warning about any hopes of an undefeated season to an end. The Steelers are still currently atop the AFC at 11-1, but the loss opened the door for the Chiefs to nab the AFC's only first-round bye in the playoffs this year. So, Shannon, how overrated were the Steelers?
Well, Skip, they've been on borrowed time for a minute, and I thought they were overrated because they had some flaws that they were never able to correct, and it was their inability to run the football. And I said, I just don't believe you can be this one-dimensional. Now, it's not like they have this great aerial assault. What they do is that Ben gets the ball out of his hands really quick, and he has smallish guys that can make you miss, get great yards after the catch. Deontay Johnson, Juju. They got guys, Claypool has been unbelievable, Skip, Ebron. So they've got those guys, what they do is that they put Ben in the shotgun, and he's like, okay, Ben, get the ball out of his hand, because nobody gets the ball out of his hand as quick as Big Ben. And guys make you miss, and they're getting first down. But at some point in time, Skip, you got to run the football. You got to be able to line up in a 4-minute, go 2 tight ends, get your 4-minute offense, and run some time off the clock. And they can't do that. 3rd down and 1-2, they got to throw the ball because their running game isn't very good. And so for me, I've always felt, and I just kept like, and Coach Tomlin kept talking about it. We didn't play good. Yeah, we won the game. We're happy that we won. But there are some things that if we don't get these things cleaned up, it's going to be a problem for us later down the road. And we see this come to fruition. As you mentioned, your Cowboys had them on the ropes. The Ravens had them on the ropes. There are a lot of teams, and they just keep and you just keep, okay, you keep playing with fire. You keep, you don't realize how close you are. And sometimes, Skip, when you win games, you're like, oh, man, we won. We can correct that. This loss might do them better than going 12-0 because it's going to force them to look, guys, we got an issue that we need to get corrected. Receivers, Skip, and they went like 2 series in a row, and they dropped like 4 balls in 2 series. I'm like, dude, how you do that?
I don't know. Good question.
And they just dropping balls left and right. But it was, I think, the biggest problem, because I think that's lack of concentration, Skip. When you catch so many, when you getting the ball, they run a lot of smoke screens, a lot of bubble screens and things, smoke routes, is that you're trying to run after the catch. And so it's a lack of concentration. You can fix that. But this running game, Skip, you can't be 29th in running the football, Skip. You just can't do it because teams are like, and you see what happened at the end of the game, a guy just got his hands up, carry him, and basically ends your hope. So I thought no one was really buying the Steelers, Skip. We barely been talking about it because we look at this team like, that is the most flawed 11-0 team that I had ever seen. And I've been part of a team that was that went 13-0. And I'm like, that's a very flawed team. And they're on borrowed time. Okay. And the time came due.
All right. Point number 1. The defense was not flawed or overrated when it was healthy.
Yes.
When it was healthy.
But you
at
can't
full strength.
Bud Dupree's gone.
Okay, but
Bush is
full
gone.
strength.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They legit. They still can get after you, even with those 2 guys out.
The offensive line is not overrated. It's still legit.
Yeah.
Big Ben's season has not been overrated because it's been very legit to the point he should have been more in the MVP conversation through the 11 games because he is still operating at a very high level.
Yes.
And you will not be able to unconvince me of this. Yesterday, the game I watched, probably mid-second quarter, I thought Pittsburgh was going to win by 21. Seriously, it felt like they were going to win by 21 because they were doing whatever they wanted. They were just going up and down the field.
Right.
And they weren't cashing, but you just figured they were going to start cashing, and it was going to get way out of hand very quickly. And by the way, in the end, Ben's QBR was 63, which is above average, and Alex Smith's was 43. So you say, well, 63 over 20 points higher. But what happened? Well, here's what happened to me. First of all, the Steelers got pandemicked. They got 2020, and we've all been 2020 in so many different ways. But remember, they were forced weirdly to play Baltimore on a weird day on a Wednesday. On a Wednesday? And nobody seemed to want to play the game on either side because the Ravens were COVID-racked, right? And remember, Robert Griffin after the game is saying, how dare you force us. It was his chance to showcase himself. But the point was, nobody on either side seemed to have their heart in it because it's hard to, because you're going out there thinking, am I going to get it off the, am I going to exchange saliva with somebody, you know? Like,
and what did they play, 3 games in 12 days?
Right, because it's it's horrible because then the Wednesday forced them to go short week to a weird Monday start at 5 p.m. And you don't start Monday Night Football games at 5, right?
Right.
So everybody's scared and out of sync.
We're 2 o'clock. We're at 2 o'clock Pittsburgh time.
Right. Okay. No, it was when it was at 5. It's 5 o'clock Pittsburgh time. Yes, it was 2 o'clock.
2 our time.
Okay.
Yeah, right, right.
I got it.
Yeah.
But the point is, everything's just out of whack, including their psyche. And then what happens going into the game? Well, obviously, as you just pointed out, they had lost Bud Dupree. He's the bookend pass rusher, and he takes the pressure off TJ. So now I was watching last night. They were like triple teaming TJ because you can't.
And he's still getting home.
And he's still occasionally getting loose and getting free. They had lost their other starting cornerback, Steven Nelson, was out last night. I don't know what happened, but he was gone. And then right away, early in the game, Robert Spillane, who took Devin Bush's place and had been playing at a high level, he got hurt on a pass rush. He came down wrong on his knee. And then all of a sudden, later in the second half, Joe Hayden was lost. Well, now, okay, now you're about to get average on defense.
Well, Skip, we always talk about, and you hear guys talk about playing that Sunday, Thursday game.
Yep.
But just imagine another 3 games. Skip, that's a lot. That body wasn't made, I don't know if body was made to play football. It definitely wasn't made to play football 3 games, NFL football in 12 days.
No.
You're asking an awful lot.
I agree. And James Conner, their one credible running back, is still on the COVID list.
Yes.
Whew. And finally, it came down to your kicker, Chris Boswell, who's really good.
Yeah.
He's out with a hip injury, so the crucial play comes down with about 5 minutes left. It's 4th and 1 all the way down at Washington's 28. You could have kicked a field goal. It's tied 17-all, and here's the play. And Anthony McFarland, the third-string back, comes in, and it was kind of a wheel route, but it was kind of like a
he ran like what we call sluggo.
It's a sluggo. It is a slant and go. Yeah. So it's not really technically a wheel route where he wheels.
Right.
But the point is, he's caught 5 balls all year, and now you throw him a difficult back shoulder ball up the field.
That's not a receiver.
Okay, well, what's he going to do? He's not going to catch it, right?
No, he's not.
And it wasn't a terrible throw, but it was a hard catch.
Right.
It was a hard catch for a wide receiver.
Being through it like he's throwing the ball to Juju or Deontay Johnson or James Washington.
Or Lynn Swann.
Right. I expect them to make that catch because they're used to catching back shoulders. But a running back?
Okay, that's the play of the game because you turn down a field goal because you think your practice squad kicker is not up to making from the 28 a field goal, whatever that would have been.
Yeah.
28.
38, probably what, 45?
Yes. Okay. You got to be able to make a 45-yard field goal to go ahead 2017 with 5 minutes left.
Well, let me ask you a question, Skip. If the score was tied and you got 10 seconds on the clock, or 20 seconds on the clock, are you going to attempt a field goal or are you going to go for it? Because I believe you kicked it. Why'd you bring the guy in? The guy had to show you, Skip, he had range from at least that distance.
You would think so. I don't know.
I ain't signed no kicker, Skip, if practice, as far as he can make it as a 40-yarder. Ain't no sense in
Okay, so then we get to the drops. I have no idea, but this team seems distracted because I thought Ebron dropped 3. They had him for 2, and Deontay Johnson had 3. No, they gave him 3.
Juju had 1.
And it's 7 total,
yes,
which is the most this year, and I think it's the most Pittsburgh's had in 15 years.
But, Skip, I watch them every week, and they drop a lot of balls.
Yep.
And that's a problem. But, Skip, I mean, if you look at over the last 7 games, they're averaging 61 yards. Rushing a game with 3 yards a carry. They've reached 100 yards.
Snell had 8 carries for 5 yards.
What you gonna do with that?
Nothing. I mean, you can't win with that. And Ben is weird what's he, 38-ish?
Yeah.
38. He is now in the mode of he flips it more than he fires it or throws it. He doesn't really throw the football that much. It's just flip.
Yeah.
And he's a really good flipper. He's like a dart thrower now.
He's playing, like you said, he's playing unbelievable.
Yeah.
But, Skip, the thing is, look, you can win a bunch of games, but his numbers, if you look at the guys that were in the MVP discussion, you look at Rodgers' numbers, you look at Mahomes' numbers, Mahomes was almost 1,000 yards ahead of Ben. It's passing. Rodgers is 400 or 500 yards ahead.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, Skip, it's about winning, but you got to have stats too. And I just didn't think, what was it, 25-8, something like 25-5 touchdowns?
Yep.
But I just thought they were a flawed team.
So under Ben Roethlisberger, their record with 14-point leads was 109-2-1.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd lost 2 games and tied 1 under Ben in 112 games. Well, they had a 14-point lead.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Washington sort of, don't know how they got their late field goal. Something weird happened. Alex Smith ran off the field with the football.
And you see what he did? Jake Allen got smart. They couldn't find the kicking ball. No. Man, you know good well you're supposed to throw that ball in.
Well, they got their late field goal, and it tended to just shift the whole momentum going into the second half. Here we are.
Mike Tomlin probably said, you know y'all screwed us, right? Well, you know what happened. Okay. The NFL probably gonna fine Alex Smith for that one.
They probably should fine him for that. I agree. Although Alex Smith is now going to be the runaway comeback player of the year and should be.
Well, Skip, the moment he stepped on the field, it was over.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have to throw a pass, a touchdown, or anything. Let alone win the best right and win the division. He might get it for the next couple of years. They might name the award after him.
And his head coach has been through a round of chemo, so he's the comeback coach of the year, right?
And then Skip, they stepped up. I mean, he stepped up. He got spiked, and he's bleeding.
He's bleeding all over the place. Yeah, that was weird.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, but you can't deny the comeback. That's
he's been unbelievable.
Also, last night, Josh Allen had a huge